Let's talk about Mahomes getting some work in with MVS, Travis Kelce, among others. Melvin Ingram visiting with the Dolphins. Tyreek still wearing his Chiefs necklace. More bad news for the Commanders and much more. But first, how about those? What's up, everybody? My name is Cole, and I do daily news about my favorite team, the Kansas City Chiefs, and the NFL overall. So make sure to sub if you're new around here, hit that like button, and let's get into this news. First, I just want to quickly say thanks for all the birthday wishes yesterday. A few of you even Cash Apped or Venmo'd me, which was definitely not expected, but I'm definitely going to get a lot of coffee with some of that money. So thanks again, everyone. I really appreciate it. Had a great time last night. Chick-fil-A was for dinner because I love Chick-fil-A. All right, last night Mahomes dropped another training video on his Twitter, and it's worth taking a look at because it shows him working with a few new faces, at least as far as offseason training is concerned. You see a lot of guys he'd been working with already, such as Rojo, Juju, Shane Buechele, Cornell Powell, Josh Gordon, but now I also see MVS, Travis Kelce, and McCole Hardman, among others, I'm sure. For whatever reason, though, people were sort of going in on McCole, on Twitter at least, about him not being around for these off-season workouts. Well, I've never said anything about this prior because, honestly, we have no idea what these guys' schedule are and who Mahomes wants to work with and when he wants to work with them. Literally, we have zero clue and zero idea. So it's probably best if we just let them work and not remain overly critical because, as we can see, they are there and working. No, not everyone has been together at the same time so far, but I think that's okay, don't you? Let's leave it to the professionals to get their work in. And then a while back, I shared about former KC third-round draft pick Philip Gaines, who attended Rice University in college. Recently, he went back to join the coaching staff as a cornerbacks coach there. Well, another former Chief is also joining the Rice coaching staff, and that is former wide receiver Samie Parker. He will be joining as an offensive quality control coach. He recently announced on his Twitter page. Parker was a fourth-round draft pick out of Oregon in the 2004 draft and played for the Chiefs from 2004 to 2007. He started 31 games for the Chiefs, catching passes from Trent Green, Damon Heward, and Brody Croyle during his career. In those 4 seasons, Parker caught 110 passes out of 180 targets for over 1,500 yards and 7 TDs. After his time in KC ended, Parker bounced around with 4 different teams in 2008, and after failing to catch on with the Raiders in 2009, Parker shifted focus from the NFL and started playing arena football, and his last ride as a player came in 2012 with the Toronto Argonauts. So hey, a big congrats to Samie Parker on his next chapter in coaching. Congrats, man. And then the last time the Chiefs had 12 draft picks was back in 2008 after we traded Jared Allen and a 6th-round pick to the Vikings in exchange for the number 17 overall pick, 2 third-round picks, and a 6th-round pick. Matt Williamson of Scouts Inc. said this of the trade initially. The Chiefs knew Allen was going to be good in Minnesota, but they didn't want to pay him, so they got very good value. That's why the trade was good. It was a good trade because the value was good. And this sounds a little familiar to what's going on these days, right? With the Chiefs trading Tyreek Hill for all these draft picks. Well, how did the Chiefs fare for all these draft picks that we got in exchange for Jared Allen? That's the question. Well, we got DT Glenn Dorsey, outside tackle Brandon Albert. In the first round, we got cornerback Brandon Flowers. In the second round, and most notably, we got Jamal Charles in the third round. Most of those guys, I mean, they did okay. I don't know if the first round picks really lived up to them being first round picks. Brandon Flowers, decent, but Jamal Charles, as we all know, was an absolute game changer, and we definitely benefited from the Jared Allen trade in that regard because the Jamal Charles pick was one of them from him, the third rounder. Allen went on to destroy people with the Vikings. I mean, he had crazy stats, did very well in 2011. He had 22 sacks on the season, which is freaking insane. So yeah, some people say the Vikings won the trade, some say the Chiefs, but either way, I bring this up because hopefully from one of these Tyreek Hill draft picks, we can land at least one player that will help us out tremendously for years to come, like Jamal Charles did. I feel like the draft is sort of lottery-like, as you never fully know what you're going to get out of a player in the NFL. They can play one way in college, but NFL is the big leagues, you know? So time will tell there, but hopefully we strike gold with one of these draft picks that we got from Tyreek Hill. That is going to be the only way to know if this trade was worth it as we look back in a few years. And then Ian Rappaport presented us with some interesting news yesterday. He says this: former Chiefs pass rusher Melvin Ingram is visiting the Dolphins today. He came on strong last year in KC, but now a potential addition in Miami.
Please, God Almighty, allow this meeting with the Dolphins to not work out well.
Because we know he was a game changer for our defense last season, and honestly, we need some veteran pass rush help very badly. Last season, Ingram appeared in 9 games with 6 starts for the Chiefs after the club acquired him via trade with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He compiled 15 tackles, 7 solo, 11 pressures, and a sack for KC during the regular season. And in 3 playoff games, Ingram registered 5 tackles, 4 solo, and 2 sacks. A look at the numbers also, I will note, it doesn't do him justice, because when you look at the overall stats of our defense prior to the Ingram trade, then compare them to the stats weeks after the trade, he really helped turn the ship around for us. But can I just say this? It is sad that an almost 33-year-old pass rusher not signing with KC would concern us so greatly. I think it honestly shows the poor state the Chiefs are in with their defensive line, particularly with the edge rushers. It's almost like, at least on the outside, the Chiefs aren't that concerned. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm sure they have a plan somewhat with the draft coming up, all that good stuff, but it's still concerning to me regardless. And yesterday, after seeing this news about Ingram, I took to Twitter to joke that if Ingram doesn't sign back with KC, I have a theory that the Chiefs are looking to focus solely on wide receiver in the draft and are aiming to put up 50 points every single game, because you can't lose games in theory if you put up 45 to 50 points every game, right? Well, people were actually retweeting this and in the comments trying to rebuttal my post thinking I was serious. Heck no, I'm not serious. Are you kidding me? We did that in 2018, basically, when Mahomes threw for 50 TDs and 5,000 yards and still couldn't make it to the Super Bowl. I'm just being tongue-in-cheek about the fact that the Chiefs don't seem overly concerned about their D-line issues thus far. At least that's what I'm taking it as an outsider here. And this is what they've done. They've restructured Clark's deal, keeping him around, and signed Taylor Stallworth, brought back Mike Dana, and we have Josh Kando, Austin Edwards, Malik Herring, and Jonathan Woodard for depth. But honestly, guys, on a scale of 1 to 10, how comforting is this lineup for you overall? Because I might be at a 5 out of a 10 at the moment. We still have Chris Jones. Can't forget that. He's a baller. But it's worth stating that just because Ingram is visiting with the Dolphins, that doesn't rule out a return to KC by any means. As Brett Veach said this earlier in the offseason when asked about Ingram, he said this: with Ingram, I think it'll be very similar to last year. I think he'll be a guy that will want to take his time. He's played a lot of snaps, but still a productive player, still can help the team, still would be of interest to us. I think he'll go through the process of taking some time and getting with his family and seeing where he wants to play and what makes sense for him. But I do think if a guy like Melvin decides he wants to come back and play, I think that we would be at the top of the list, and that's something we'll work to keep the dialogue open with. So yeah, I do hope Ingram is back into the Chiefs fold this season, because at this point we need all the help that we can get. And even with my concerns about the D-line, it's worth talking about. So far, at least, the 2022 offseason has been an offseason of first for the Kansas City Chiefs, at least in the Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes era. For Brett Veach, this offseason was the first time he took a measured approach to free agency, because in previous off seasons they had been taking pretty big swings, like for Anthony Hitchens, Tyrann Mathieu, Joe Thuney, Sammy Watkins, trading for Emmanuel Ogbah, Kendall Fuller, and Orlando Brown Jr. Moves like this. But this season has been different, with some of the biggest news being the Tyreek Hill trade, which is actually a big swing in a sense, but not to acquire a player, but to get rid of a player and free up cap space. Do you guys think this offseason is showing a change in strategy for Veach and company? A lot of these offseason signings were very value-packed and cost-effective, with the biggest signing probably being Justin Reid, but if you look at his contract, it's not horribly expensive over the course of these 3 years. Then they restructured Clark to save money and signed MVS, Ronald Jones, and Juju Smith-Schuster, all on pretty affordable deals laden with incentives. The only other thing I see coming is a longer-term big signing with Orlando Brown Jr., but yeah, with Mahomes now earning more than peanuts on his extension, will Veach change his free agency strategy for good? Or was the lack of spending in free agency a one-time thing due to the pool of players available? Was Tyreek Hill's lack of a new contract and subsequent lack of salary cap space generated the thing holding Veach back from spending in this free agency? Once the cap explodes, will he be back to his spending self? The questions above will be interesting to consider Snyder heading into the 2023 offseason, but the reality right now is that Veach has had a somewhat quiet but value-filled free agency period. If this is the way he will approach free agency and free agency contracts going forward, it could spell good things for the Chiefs' future. In other NFL news, Tyreek Hill recently released a video of him training and working out in Miami. I've seen some videos of him also working out with Tua, their QB. I'm not going to say their last name because I will butcher it. I do it every time. But also, I've seen some videos of him working out, having fun on the beach, and then lifting weights as well. And the thing that I did notice and wanted to point out is he's still wearing his Chiefs logo diamond necklace, which does definitely make me sad, but there are plenty of good memories to look back on, and I am excited for him and his future, establishing security for generations to come for his family. And then Cincinnati Bengals wide receiver T. Higgins, who was spotted at a Cincinnati Reds game with other notable Bengal players. You'll notice them in this video. He was spotted there Tuesday with his left arm in a sling. He had his labrum repaired in March, but is expected to be ready well before training camp starts. Higgins had 1,091 receiving yards and 6 TDs last season for the reigning AFC champions. And I won't lie to y'all, I've had 2 surgeries on my left shoulder, both labrum repairs, and both surgeries were pretty tough recovery processes. You spend 6 weeks in a sling, and a lot of them not really able to move at all, or at least not unassisted. So I'm praying for a quick recovery for him for sure. And then Bucs outside tackle Tristan Wirfs was a rookie starter on the Pro Bowl champions team and was an all-pro pick and Pro Bowler in his second season. And he was recently asked in a press conference if he had Tom Brady's number, and he responded saying,
"I don't have Tom's number." No, I don't think I'm there yet.
Well, later that day, Tom Brady took to Twitter with a screenshot in which he actually got a hold of Tristan's number and shot him a text posing as someone trying to reach out to him about his car's extended warranty, then says, "Just kidding, your car is fine. It's your favorite QB." I just thought that was a fun little story and a cool gesture from old man Brady. And then before Kirk Cousins inked his 1-year extension, the question looming over Minnesota was whether the Vikings could move on from the quarterback. This recent extension keeps Cousins tied to the Vikes through the 2023 season, but the 33-year-old QB said Monday he hopes to never leave Minnesota. Quote, "The short answer for why I signed the contract extension is I wanted to be a Minnesota Viking. I wanted to help create some cap space so that we could put together a roster that you do feel really good about. It's just always trying to find win-wins. I think it was a way to create a win-win, and then hopefully that leads to a lot of wins this fall. My mindset was really to be a Viking. I would like to retire as a Viking, and so I would like to play my way into that, if you will. I know I've got to earn the right to do that." So yeah, that's certainly interesting because he played 6 seasons for the Commanders, but wants to stay a Viking for life if he can help it. Could it partially be, guys, because of all the drama going down with the Commanders right now, that he wants nothing to do with them and his name not attached to them for eternity? Because according to a new letter from the U.S. House Oversight and Reform Committee sent to the FTC, the Commanders failed to refund security deposits, concealed revenue, and kept 2 sets of financial books. The 20-page letter detailed what the committee said was a multi-year process of altering records to hide revenue that led to more profits for the organization. The allegation of financial improprieties were made by former longtime employee Jason Friedman, who on March 14th met with the members of the committee as part of its investigation into the team's workplace culture. According to emails and an Excel sheet he provided to the committee, Friedman alleged the team might have retained as much as $5 million in deposits from approximately 2,000 customers. There's a lot more to this story, and it's an ongoing investigation and situation, but it is an ugly look for the team, I'll tell you that much. And time will tell if this is legit or not, but it is a wild time here for Dan Snyder and the Commanders. What do you guys think about this? I mean, they just have one thing after another, after another, after another, and not to mention, their name is now the Commanders. I mean, I guess I'm used to it a little bit now, but it's still a horrible name. But be sure of this. I'll keep you guys up to date on all this stuff, Chiefs news, and all things NFL every step of the way. Make sure to sub for more daily news like this, and check out this video here from the previous day's news in case you missed it. So until next time, let's go. How about those